ever heard of magical psychosis, also known as GAP, Greater Astral Plane Psychosis? This is something that was introduced in 2E in the book A Guide to the Astral Plane. Magical psychosis can affect people beyond just the astral plane. It can also affect you when you go into any magical plane or go through anything that, say, is a massive ritual that gives you an overwhelming amount of power, like becoming a god, ascending as a vampire would, or simply going into the Shadowfell for long periods of time like Daniel. This is a temporary psychosis, but it can also become permanent, in which people are so overwhelmed by the amount of magical power that they have been interacting with, that it temporarily makes them feel either insane or like a crazy tyrant dictator. A more direct explanation is it is a danger that exists to spellcasters who spend a great deal of time using magic in any form of void or are overwhelmed by large amounts of magic. Those affected by this addiction simply hunger for the feeling of their magic coursing through them. They often are wasting spells frivolously, always casting, or are obsessed with using their magic to have control over the world around them. And the reason that I bring this up is because people who are typically a spellcaster, like Gale, are going to more accurately handle going through some kind of magical psychosis, because they are often learning new magic when they are coming into themselves as wizards or sorcerers or warlocks. Sorcerers, it comes to them innately, so they are less likely to feel this damage. Whereas with warlocks and wizards, they are channeling other people's powers, whether the weave or whether it devils. If someone is not magical, for example, Astarion, when he goes through the rite of profaned ascension, there's going to be a massive amount of demonic magic surging through him, enough that essentially elevates him to the vampire equivalent of a god. But, and this is a big but, he is not a magic caster. He has never had to deal with any version of this psychosis or any amount of magic coursing through his veins to any degree like this, which means that he's going to have no blueprint for how to handle GAP. This is not to excuse the way that he talks right after the rite happens and you're still inside of the ritual circle.
The greatest vampire to ever walk this land. Even the pale knight would have knelt before me.
And you too. I can tell. Your heartbeat races. You hold your breath while I speak.
Obey.
Baby, call this girl a therapist, because why he's so hot like this?
How all the lowly creatures of this plane are begging to serve.
There is a reason why it is incredibly fucked up and sounds overwhelming that exists within the actual lore of D&D, and it's that he would be going through GAP. The reason that I say this is because as you progress further through the story and you talk to him later, his thoughts and visions on the world slowly start to shift and move away from insane, tyrannical, power-hungry madness. When you're going through the ritual, whether you choose to ascend him or not, you have a moment where you, as his lover, can read his mind, and he is overwhelmed with the amount of power that is surging through the room, and as a vampire, it is making him desperately hungry.
You can see the fear in his eyes, but also the hunger, the thick smell of blood in the air, and the promise of power being so close is intoxicating to him. All he can see is the power of the ritual and the freedom that power brings. Freedom to do anything, to be anything.
Because again, vampires are hungry for power, control, blood, and pleasure. To appease the YouTube overlords, we're gonna say pleasure. The fact that slowly over time he starts to change how he sees and interacts with the world, he is still slightly a different character. He doesn't have exactly the same personality, I will give you that. If you don't like that personality, don't ascend him. He isn't going to be the way he is right after the ritual through the rest of the game, nor will he be that way for the rest of his life, to be honest. He's very clearly suffering from it, and it very clearly becomes temporary, because as you progress, he becomes nicer, he becomes less focused on that, and he goes from wanting to rule the entire world to just wanting to blanket an area of the world at night to protect his future children and spawn. He obviously wants to achieve all the things that he feels like were taken away from him for the last 200 years. He's just a little bit more dominant in the way that he likes to do it. And we all know how I feel about being dominant. And before you go, I want to have a authory moment because a girlie's got to pay her bills. I mean, JK, I make like $10 a month in book royalties. But hey, that's a cup of coffee. And I need the devil's bean juice in my life. I also need that water behind me, but I refuse to drink it because ick. So as an ADHD girly, I always have a metric fuck ton of projects I'm working on at any one point in time. You can kind of see all the projects I'm working on Pinterest right now. I'll link that in my description if you want to like see how I envision the characters and what I'm doing. But I wanted to read you a little bit from my vampire billionaire captured romance one. Let's discover if I can hold this camera steady while also reading off of a page. She's nervous, but it's not fear. It's something else. Curiosity. Heat. The kind of quiet yearning that most women bury under shame and silence because they've never known what it's like to be truly wanted, to be seen, touched, guided by a man who doesn't ask, but commands with care. Her breath falters every time my fingers adjust her. Her thighs shift with a friction she thinks I don't notice. But I do. Gods, I do. Her body responds like it's remembering a language her mind was never taught. And I intend to teach her every word of it. I intend to show her. By the way, they're talking about dancing. YouTube overlords. We're dancing. This isn't a spicy moment. But yeah, so far this has actually been like one of my most very obviously sub-dom stories because it does involve person napping. So I'm excited. I know it is vampires again, and it might not be the next one to come out, but I'm excited to share my author journey with you and be more myself, because that's what 2026 goal is, to be more myself and less just what YouTube wants me to be and super filtered and censored and sanitized, because fuck my overlords, right? If you're interested in any of my current books, which right now my main series is a spicy poly vampire romance that's enemies to lovers. You can check them out on Amazon as the Gemstone Soul series, starting with book 1, Infinity's Touch. They are very spicy and they are bisexual, so you've been warned. And with that, thank you for being here today, because writing and gaming, they're my passions. And with subscribers like you, I get to chase those passions. And I hope to see you again in the next one. So good night, darling.
And now you're all mine. And I'm all yours. Until morning, at least.